is Bill of Rights Day. The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the American Constitution. Because of the Bill of Rights, we are guaranteed freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right of assembly and petition, the right of trial by jury, the right to be secure in one's own home, protection of due process of law and private property and public trials, and many other things that perhaps we take for granted, but which we are guaranteed in the United States Constitution.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
From coast to coast, aviation-impacted communities are neglected by local government and sold out, betrayed, and sacrificed by Washington. For too long, corporate interests and lobbyists have hijacked our federal and local government agencies. Their reckless policies aren't just neglectful, they are an assault on the health, safety, and quality of life of every American community, all to serve the bottom line of a ruthless elite.
A small medical jet has crashed near a mall in northeast Philadelphia and exploded in a ball of flames. The plane, headed for Missouri, crashed into a neighborhood outside the Roosevelt Mall shortly after leaving the northeast Philadelphia airport. Several houses caught fire and cars were also hit.
It comes out of the left upper corner of the screen. It flies over several lanes of traffic and it tries to make an emergency landing in the far right lane, but it crashes into a vehicle, killing 2 of the 5 people on board.
Breaking news in San Diego, showing the fire following a small plane crash in San Diego this morning. We're learning this was a private jet. That plane made a direct hit to homes, setting fire to about 15 homes, as well as several vehicles.
Yeah, you can see that one image, the flames, that was the fuel running down the street on fire. Wow, that is terrifying to see. Several blocks of this neighborhood, this is military housing, by the way, densely packed housing, so you can see a lot of people in harm's way. Several blocks of the neighborhood have been evacuated. Emergency crews are going from one home to the next to search for survivors. Now, along with the debris, there's a lot of jet fuel, as we mentioned, in the neighborhood, and that is a hazmat situation, of course, and that has a lot of people concerned.
A frightening scene playing out in Phoenix. This small plane plummeting into a backyard, spewing fuel and broken parts across multiple homes.
Okay, yeah, we've got the plane here. It's into a house.
Spotted from the sky, the crash sticking out of the ground, a small tower of wreckage.
How our democracy has been outsourced. We've traded a government of the people for a shadow state owned by billionaires and ruthless elites. We are currently an occupied nation, warns Palantir whistleblower.
Listen up, losers. Stop pretending it's a democracy. We run things. Give up the illusion, and in exchange, we will bring you order and efficiency. Yes, we'll own you. But do you really want to be free? Trust us. We know what to do. While Silicon Valley was feeding you dope and free email, we built the architecture of empire. Welcome to our world, motherfuckers. We aren't here to protect your privacy. We are here to enforce supremacy. We are the ledger now. Every tax return, every Medicaid file, every license plate, every crossing. Your president signed it into being with a pen in March. You kept scrolling. Your politicians are empty vessels. Your civil liberties are a liability. We are done pretending all cultures are equal. We know who the elites are, we know what we are building, and we demand that you applaud the billionaires taking the reins where your fragile democracies have failed. Welcome to the technological republic. You can stop scrolling now. We already have everything we need. Try to unplug us. We dare you. Now get the fuck out of here, you peasant.
Recently, the House of Representatives held a hearing titled The State of American Aviation. During the session, Congressman Henry Johnson of Georgia questioned FAA Administrator Brian Bedford about a privately held, for-profit national security and technology company called Peraton, which was founded in 2017.
Now, Administrator Bedford, the FAA has tasked a company known as Peraton, which is a privately held for-profit national security and technology company founded in 2017. The FAA has tasked this new company, which has little or no FAA experience, to oversee a $31.5 billion overhaul of our air traffic control system. And earlier, and I should point out that Peraton, founded in 2017, is owned by a private equity firm, Veritas Capital, which ranks 46th in the Private Equity International's PEI 300 ranking among the world's largest private equity firms. So Peraton is owned by Veritas, the 46th biggest private equity company in the world. And Congress has approved a $12.5 billion down payment to this company, although the total amount to be allocated and spent with of taxpayer money to be spent with Peraton, the total amount has not been decided yet. So pretty much the taxpayer pocketbook is wide open for this private equity firm. I don't have a lot of confidence in this working out for the American people. This administration is packed with billionaires, 12 billionaires at the highest echelons of this administration. And while the American people recognize that life is getting more expensive, these 12 billionaires and the one who leads them at the top are telling the people that, hey, don't believe your lying eyes. Your costs are not going up. We're having a great time here. This is a wonderful time. The American people see these billionaires getting richer and richer while they are getting poorer and poorer. And I don't have a lot of confidence that this $31.5 billion overhaul of our air traffic control system being overseen by a private equity firm is in the best interests of the American people. This side, the legislative branch, doesn't even know or care about how Peraton was chosen over a company, Parsons Corporation, that has extensive experience working with the FAA, how Peraton came to get this contract over a company like Parsons. It seems like a pay-to-play situation, which is in keeping with everything else we know about this administration.
In addition to Peraton, Palantir Technologies receives generous U.S. government contracts funded by taxpayers, serving similar clients in defense, intelligence, and cybersecurity. Many of the company's leaders, including billionaires Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, come from overlapping networks in venture capital, national security, and technology. As a co-founder of Palantir and an early architect of Facebook, Peter Thiel wields immense technological and poetical power. Yet his influence extends far beyond Silicon Valley. From his bankrolling of political figures like Vice President J.D. Vance, to his controversial pursuit of biological immortality through anti-aging ventures and allegations of young blood transfusions.
It's one thing to criticize your former employer. It's taboo to do that. But to criticize an employer that also owns extremely lethal technologies and surveillance technologies that are highly invasive and used in war zones is something else entirely.
It's 2025. We're all kind of used to government surveillance. The idea that we're all being watched all the time and don't own our own personal data has become normalized. We're also used to the military spending vast amounts of our money on just a few giant defense contractors. But one tech company wants to change both of those things
and become the ultimate military contractor and the ultimate arbiter of all of our data. Engineering, but neoclassical social theory. They named the company Palantir, after the Palantiri from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
In Lord of the Rings, a Palantir stone is a magical object that allows its users to predict the future or to see what's going on in a remote location.
It was originally created by the elves. It was meant to be used for good purposes. It is potentially a very dangerous technology. It's very powerful.
Long have you hunted me?
So what? Why am I telling you all of this? Palantir has no problem being seen as Big Brother, as all-powerful, as lethal even.
We're at the brink of using these technologies potentially to run our government, to run our battlefields, and our personal lives.
Behind every reckless policy is a shadow network of corporate elites who have effectively hollowed out our democracy. They provide the funding, and the political class provides the compliance, leaving the American public to pay the price. What we are witnessing is the systematic capture of our government by corporate interests. These aren't just policies. They are calculated betrayals funded by special interests that prioritize profit over your life and the lives of your children. Like Peraton, Palantir Technologies has performed software and data analytics work for the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, illustrating how both companies operate within the same government technology ecosystem. They often gain contracts and generous subsidies through the Department of Defense intelligence agencies. Palantir Technologies has been heavily involved in modernizing Federal Aviation Administration, FAA air traffic control, through AI-enabled predictive technology.
Peter Thiel co-founded PayPal, then built Palantir, the data company that runs surveillance for the CIA and FBI, with access to your data and almost no public oversight. In 2007, Gawker Media outed him as gay. He waited 9 years, secretly funded Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against them, and bankrupted the entire company. Nobody knew it was him until it was over. He then spent $15 million, the largest individual donation to a Senate candidate in history, getting his former employee J.D. Vance elected. Palantir's government contracts have grown significantly since. He got New Zealand citizenship and bought land to build a doomsday bunker to hide from the world he's in part creating.
Recently, NTSB's Jennifer Homendy called out the FAA's astounding failure over the DCA crash. For 18 years, the solutions were on the table. For 18 years, the FAA ignored them. This is what happens when people in power can't be bothered to do their jobs. We don't need more complaints or reviews. We need accountability and heads to roll. Anything less is just more noise while people die. NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy has issued another chilling warning. The next mid-air collision will be at Burbank Airport, but nobody at FAA is paying attention to us.
Question is, should the FAA have known there was a problem, and should something have been done? Absolutely. The data was there. The data was in their own systems. It was the NTSB working with them to determine that there were 15,214 close proximity events, 85 of which were serious, over a number of years. That's just the data. Why collect data if you're not going to analyze it? Then They were supposed to conduct annual reviews of helicopter routes to consider, are they still safe? Is there utility to keeping them? Should they change? We couldn't find any evidence of annual reviews, nor could FAA tell us who did them. That is astounding to me. It's one, I believe, failure after another. But we can talk about the pilots, we can talk about air traffic controllers, we can talk about traffic. What we need to really talk about is a tower and tower personnel who were repeatedly saying, we have a safety problem here. We have a hot spot at the end of runway 33 and we need to do something about it. We have helicopter routes where we have unsafe practices right now. We need to do something. How many times do tower personnel, who, by the way, put their own helicopter working group together and kept submitting one recommendation after another? We need help, we need help, we need help. Apparently falling on deaf ears. So I will also get the, oh, she sounds angry. We should be angry. Because for years, no one listened. This was preventable. This was 100% preventable. Frankly, having a helicopter route crossing runway 33 with only 75 feet of, that means 75 feet of vertical separation. What that means is 75 feet, at best, separating a helicopter and civilian aircraft. Nowhere in the airspace is that okay. Nowhere. This shouldn't have existed.
The FAA's handling of flight path risks is a masterclass in bureaucratic gaslighting. Captured by aviation powerful lobby groups and heavily controlled by Peraton and Palantir technologies, they've consistently falsified environmental and safety data and sidelined thousands of legitimate complaints by labeling them insignificant to avoid fixing a toxic system. While American taxpayers are forced to bankroll the FAA's wasteful $45 billion NextGen program, private equity firms with deep defense and aviation ties are siphoning off billions in profit. Venerable communities are being sacrificed for their bottom line, left to endure relentless overflights, deafening noise, and toxic air pollution funded by our own tax dollars. National security and public health are being traded for political theater. While the FAA and Congress ignore the systemic failures of FAA's NextGen, American families pay the price in toxic noise and air pollution and shattered property values. We don't need more oversight. We need to stop funneling taxpayer money into private equity and end the corporate capture of our government. Current aviation policy is a textbook case of regulatory capture. The FAA and the U.S. House have surrendered our skies to a tiny elite, prioritizing the profits of Lockheed Martin, Palantir, and Peraton over the health of American families. If the public interest truly mattered, the toxic noise and pollution caused by NextGen would be met with the same legislative urgency that powerful airline lobby groups and Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association currently buy through corporate lobbying. These are not mere instances of negligence. They reveal systemic regulatory failure and a deeply troubling breach of the federal and local government's duty to protect public safety and welfare. Across the country, communities are facing the harsh reality that regulatory oversight has failed, turning democratic institutions against the American public, in this case allowing aviation to go rogue and become a destructive force that harms neighborhoods, communities, public health, and quality of life. Meanwhile, the American public is paying the human and environmental cost of the FAA's aggressive NextGen efficiency push. Weak enforcement, lax oversight, and the influence of corporate and defense lobbying have allowed aviation expansion to proceed with little regard for community safety, environmental health, or residents' rights. Federal and local authorities have both a legal and moral duty to ensure that regulatory decisions do not inflict disproportionate harm on the communities they are meant to protect. That is why cities like Los Angeles, Long Island, and Phoenix have filed lawsuits against the FAA, while many other states have failed to represent the interests of communities suffering under the policies of these elite-controlled systems.
Residents say it's plain wrong.
Sometimes all night long, every 5 minutes.
Loud and low-flying planes continue to disrupt the peace in communities across Long Island on the arrival flight path to JFK.
They're like, oh, there's like Kuwait Airlines or Dubai.
The towns of Hempstead and North Hempstead filed a petition against the FAA over the summer, but officials say it fell on deaf ears. Now they've filed a federal lawsuit.
This is just the next step. We've got to speak for our residents because it's truly a health issue.
We are calling for the court to force FAA to respond to our requests. We're calling for FAA to pull back on use of the flight path, and we're calling for FAA to conduct that environmental review.
Like many other cities, Las Vegas County and city officials continue to dismiss residents' petitions, rejecting irrefutable evidence, including satellite imagery and eyewitness video, as unsubstantiated or diluted. Meanwhile, residents endure relentless aerial assaults, with citizen advocates facing harassment from low-altitude flybys, dives, and maneuvers performed dangerously below the minimum safe altitude. The same story unfolds across America, where vulnerable communities are left to endure the harmful health consequences caused by rogue air pilots. From Colorado to Long Beach, Los Angeles, San Francisco, California, to Flagler, Florida, Colorado, Portland and Bend, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona, Boston, and Hanscom Field, Massachusetts, Dallas, Texas, and Long Island, New York residents are suffering without proper support or any government accountability. For over a decade, Congress and the FAA have ignored the voices of Americans demanding reform of the FAA's NextGen program, which has caused relentless noise and air pollution in both general aviation airports and major hub airports. Despite real dangers, frequent small plane crashes in residential areas, near misses, and mid-air collisions, government officials have prioritized political theatrics and corporate lobbying over public safety. The FAA's satellite-based flight paths over densely populated cities continue to expose communities to harmful noise and toxic air pollution, while rampant corruption and incompetence in Congress and federal agencies ignore systematic failures and shortcomings. For years, the response of those in position of power has not just indifferent, but smug, condescending, gaslighting, and laced with personal attacks and insults. Their arrogance and willful negligence makes it clear. They prioritize bureaucratic cover-ups and corporate greed over the safety and sanity of the people they are supposed to serve. Abusive Clark County Aviation Department and Las Vegas officials often hide behind Congresswoman Susie Lee's failed congressional inquiry to the FAA. They claim Lee's inaction proves nothing is wrong, so residents must be delusional. Thousands demanding air travel reform are smeared as irrational kooks. Meanwhile, FAA, with the help of Las Vegas politicians and abusive port authorities, enable reckless, low-flying planes attacks on our homes and turn their backs on public suffering. Susie Lee and Nevada officials at all levels of government have failed their constituents. According to Business Insider, Susie Lee has been heavily engaged in insider trading by violating stock acts more than 200 times and feeding the corrupt system she's part of while Nevadans choke on noise, pollution, and dangerous low-flying aircraft. Not once has Lee spoken on the House floor regarding the suffering of her constituents or demanded accountability from the FAA or US DOT. Lee's silence reflects a systemic institutional failure within the U.S. House of Representatives, a chronic pattern of neglect and dismissal enabled by the FAA, members of Congress and local government toward aviation-impacted communities, where legitimate noise and safety complaints have been callously dismissed as unsubstantiated allegations or delusional. Even members of the Quiet Skies Caucus offer performative gestures, while their contributions amount to little more than hollow platitudes in the face of a decade-long dismissal of aviation-impacted communities. The truth is clear. Congress has been in a state of paralysis, completely indifferent, lifeless, and detached from the urgent realities facing our communities. Congress just authorized FISA provisions that permit widespread surveillance of American citizens, effectively dismantling the foundations of freedom and democracy by bypassing the judicial requirement for a warrant. Section 702 empowers a federal apparatus increasingly influenced by corporate interests and ruthless elites to weaponize intelligence tools against the very people it serves. This is the same gridlocked Congress that has abandoned its duty to pass meaningful legislation, failing to fix a broken healthcare system that profiteers off sickness while ignoring the FAA's NextGen horror. By refusing to reform air travel or increase flight altitudes over congested areas, lawmakers prioritize corporate efficiency over the physical and psychological well-being of citizens. This inaction is a symptom of a deeper rot, a corrupt system defined by insider trading, market manipulation, and the unchecked flow of dark corporate money into politics. While billionaires and ruthless elites thrive, farmers and small businesses are driven into bankruptcy, and the American public is crushed by high inflation, soaring gas, food, and rent prices, and rising unemployment. Such systemic failure proves that all three branches of our government have been captured by the billionaire class and ruthless corporate elites who prioritize their own power while leaving the interests of the American people behind. Disasters keep hitting Las Vegas: poisoned wells, toxic air, and broken promises. In addition to low-flying planes, the county commissioners, mayor, and Las Vegas City Council have been ignoring the struggling voices of their constituents. Last year, they allowed Elon Musk's Boring Company tunnel beneath neighborhoods with little accountability or oversight, so close to homes and businesses without the checks and balances that typically apply to other major public transit projects. Elon Musk's Boring Company was ejected in other cities and counties citing environmental risks, but it was welcomed by Las Vegas city and county officials where money trumps safety. With little oversight, Musk's Boring Company is accused of ignoring permits, dumping drilling waste, spilling contaminated groundwater, damaging critical infrastructure, and polluting sewers, leaving toxic sludge, groundwater contamination, looming sinkholes, and decades of fallout, while the city simply finds them and cashes in. Las Vegas City's leadership has been incredibly tone-deaf to the needs of the residents, prioritizing profit over people. From unsafe streets filled with drunk and drugged-up drivers, to predatory parking fees in the Arts District, which are a deliberate attack on local businesses, to Elon Musk's Boring Company, poisoning your drinking water and violating nearly 800 environmental violations on Las Vegas project, to Aviation going rogue above our homes, dumping deafening noise, poisonous lead, ultrafine particles, toxic jet fumes, and neurotoxins above the same communities at low altitude. Overpaid Las Vegas politicians and bureaucrats are killing this city. The fact is that congressional oversight is dead, reform is being replaced with retaliation, and accountability has collapsed. Beyond toxic air pollution and noise, millions are now fighting for survival against a system of casino capitalism that treats the vulnerable like a jackpot. In the meantime, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, or General Dynamics harvest billions of dollars in pure profit from war industry, and American public continues to suffer. They've weaponized the revolving door, buying the very politicians and corrupt members of Congress who slash your healthcare, housing, and social services to keep the war checks flowing. While the American people are forced to choose between rent and their life-saving medicine, BlackRock, Palantir, and Peraton continue to receive billions in funding from taxpayer dollar. The system isn't broken. It's designed that way, and it's working exactly as the billionaire class intended and paid for it. And U.S. Congress looks the other way, enabling a system plagued by insider trading, market manipulation, and financial Ponzi schemes propped up by a multi-trillion-dollar war industry that puts profit ahead of American people, families, and children. They know exactly what they are enabling. Their arrogance isn't just negligent, it's outright contempt for the people they are supposed to serve. Protect your environment, protect your children, protect your home, and protect your community. Be the activist who pushes back when FAA and aviation